to get there. But yeah, I think in 2020 we I hope we have a really robust e-commerce system essentially that a lot of the large websites can use. Maybe not Amazon.com, but I'm sure there's going to be hopefully many, many more. Or what about Apple.com using Drupal? That sounds more likely to me. It's a marketing site. And I think it would be terrific. It's like Steve Jobs, who is fanatic about building the right products with the right experience, as well as his CIO, as well as his designers. If they all said, hey, let's use Drupal, and that they really felt like that was a good thing to do for them, that it was a good match for a company like them. I think it would be a great for Drupal if they would. Or what about this one? By 2020, Jeffrey Zeltman is promoting Drupal. One of the best designers in the world. Drupal finally being really designer friendly so that it meets his needs, that it has the experience that he cares about when he builds and creates experiences for others. And I think we have to. I think we need to set a new bar in terms of experience, and rethink some of the things that we do in Drupal to make it better and easier for designers, and break the perception that Drupal isn't for designers. So, and here's another interesting slide. Do you recognize these words? They're taking from a 30-second ad for the Apple iPad. So it's from their marketing campaign. And notice that not a single of these words talks about a feature. They all describe an experience. And I think in general, that's something that we as a community need to learn. The features are important for all the techies, but for a lot of other people out there, they care more about the experience. Easy to upgrade, all of those things. And I love Apple. I know they're overrated, that they're overpriced, that they're not fully embracing open source, and I still buy them because they create an experience. They create this, it's almost a fashion label. They have great technology combined with sort of the fashion label that I think makes people really love their products. And I would love nothing more than have a lot of people love Drupal for similar reasons. Or what about this one? Already talked about Turner Broadcasting, but in 2020, CNN runs on Drupal. I think that might be actually feasible. They're already adopting a lot of Drupal sites, so they'll have a lot of internal knowledge. And I think from a technology point of view, Drupal might get there in 3 to 4 years, in order to support some of these large websites. So, maybe that will happen. Would be cool. Or what about this one? Instead of having one turner, what if we have 100 turners? 100 of large organizations that are starting to standardize on Drupal and that are rolling out, dozens and dozens of large websites. I think it will happen pretty soon, to be honest. I see the momentum there, and a lot of these organizations I'm talking to, and they're switching. But what does that mean for the ecosystem? What does that mean for the features? All of those questions, I think we need to start answering them pretty soon, and making sure that we get ready for them. At the same time, I think we need to care about the low end of the market. It's absolutely critical that Drupal continues to work well on the low end, because that's the way how people discover Drupal. That's the way people get into Drupal and how they start promoting Drupal, and how, as I mentioned, start with the school website and then sort of take it to your corporate intranet. I think in 2020, I think hopefully we'll have a lot of Drupal as a service. I think there will be far more Drupal websites delivered in a SaaS model than there will be self-hosted Drupal sites like what we have today. And I think WordPress.com is a great example. They already have 11 or 12 million sites on WordPress.com. There is only 4 million self-hosted websites. So in the WordPress world, there is many more hosted websites delivered through a SaaS model. So that's why I think that initiatives like Buzzer, which is developed by Lullaby and Drupal Gardens, that what we are working on, are going to be a big reason of why Drupal is successful in the low end. So I think hopefully we'll see more of that. Hopefully Drupal will be a good platform for others to build businesses that way. right? So another way to accomplish that is distributions. You know, at the end of the day, products or distributions are easier to adopt than sort of a framework, if you will. Reality is that if you want to build a website, you still need to go and download all of the modules, and you need to figure out, you know, which of the, you know, dirty image carousel modules to use, and then, you know, put them together in the right way. And there's a lot of people that just don't have that technical depth to do that. So I think by 2020, 10 years from now, we'll have a whole lot of distributions, and they'll be fully marketed, almost like Linux distributions today. And I think this is also an interesting one, and I wrote a blog post about this, but I think we still need to figure out the business model a little bit around these, because building a good distribution and doing the marketing and everything else is expensive. And so I think right now they all almost feel like lead generation machines for the companies that build them. They get a bunch of leads, but it might be a very expensive lead generation machine. You know, given that you do need to invest a lot of time and effort. So I think we need to think more about this and figure out how, you know, people can make money building distributions, because that's how we'll get hundreds, if not thousands, of really good distributions that really match the quality and the polish of sort of, you know, commercial point solutions that they'll be competing with. I also think we'll have distribution specialists. Like, for example, you could hire an Open Atrium specialist, or a Pressflow specialist, or an Open Publish specialist, and just knowing Drupal in 2020 might not be enough, right? Because it will be so large and so wide that it might be very helpful to, you know, to have more specialization, essentially. Here's another thing to think about. You know, more than 60% of the world, you know, doesn't speak English. And I think PHP now supports, you know, code to be written in any Unicode language. So maybe 25% of all the Drupal modules are originally written in Chinese. And, you know, none of us in this room would be able to review any of the code. Or maybe a few people would, but I wouldn't. You know, could happen. Another data point, you know, the Arabic countries are really growing fast relative to the English-speaking web. And, you know, I don't think that today we have cracked the code on how we extend beyond sort of the English-speaking community. And I think we have to. Hopefully we will, you know, by 2020, and, you know, hopefully we will long before that as well. You know, I talked about training being, or not training, but the lack of Drupal talent being the biggest barrier to adoption right now. I think, you know, maybe in 2020 we'll have weekly